Do you have federal student loans? Are you repaying them now? Well, you may have heard that the SAVE plan is being phased out and it's being replaced by something called the Repayment Assistance Plan, which goes into effect July 1, 2026. And here to talk with me about that is Becca Craig. She's a wealth advisor with Focus Partners Wealth. Becca, welcome.
Thanks so much for having me, Bob.
We
Always a
have a
pleasure.
lot to go through today to get everyone up to speed on this. Where to begin?
Oh, we do. Let's start at the beginning. And so for years, student loan borrowers have had to wade through an alphabet soup of acronyms for different income-driven repayment plans. And as part of the Trump administration's overhaul of the entire federal student aid system, the phasing out of certain income-driven repayment plans is going into effect over the next few weeks to years, as well as the introduction of the RAP plan. It's kind of a neat new acronym, right? But for student loan borrowers, both current and future borrowers, it's important to note that this will be the only new repayment plan offered to new borrowers. So there's a lot of nuance within the system that's really important for borrowers to get a really firm understanding of in a very short amount of time.
Yeah. So, what are, I guess, monthly payments? Is that what people care most about, or is it something else?
You know, it always starts with that, right? Because it's in the immediate future, most borrowers, and again, 44 million Americans today will have to make a decision about their current and or future student loan repayment plan. That starting on July 1st, 2026, the RAP plan will be made available. Current borrowers will have the option to remain with their current plan, except if RIP save plan, you will need to switch. You probably should have already switched. And choose either an income-driven repayment plan or a standard repayment plan. In addition, the RAP plan, at first glance, seems like it's addressed a few concerns. Payments are based on adjusted gross income, unpaid interest is waived. There are certain safeguards that can prevent balances from increasing despite making payments, which has been a long time concern of borrowers. But as with most aspects of student loan repayment planning, there's no one-size-fits-all solution. And so depending on an individual borrower's personal financial circumstances, it's really going to dictate how they adjust and the moves that they ought to make the most optimal decision for their overall financial picture.
Right. I think we've mentioned in the past the Public Service Loan Forgiveness Program. Does that come into play here?
Bob, it does. It does. And along with, the RAP plan, which again, in a very similar way to previous income-driven repayment plans, it's based on adjusted gross income, not a discretionary calculation, as we've previously seen, in which borrowers must make at least a $10 monthly payment, even during periods of financial hardship or unemployment. When it comes to public service loan forgiveness, what's going to be interesting to see is the impact of the calculation of monthly payments dependent on one's income. And so while the RAP plan will qualify in the same way that other income-driven repayment plans have qualified for public service loan forgiveness, some borrowers, especially those that are higher earners or set to earn a larger amount over the trajectory of their career, so doctors, lawyers, those that make above $100,000 adjusted gross income, might see a slight dramatic increase in their monthly payments.
And for folks who are in the low income side, they may see, given the combination of the income-based payments along with the interest subsidies, maybe a little bit of lower payments?
Yeah, and so it's important to remember that there's no good, there's no bad, there's just optimal. And Bob, to your point, really where the RAP plan shines is for lower income borrowers with student loan balances that are equal or less than their income. RAP can provide meaningful benefits in the form of low monthly payments and overall relative cost over the tenure or the entirety of their student loan repayment journey. In some cases, the combination of the income-based payments and interest subsidies and eventual forgiveness create a really manageable experience. And that is really where the RAP plan shines.
Before we talk about the other side of the equation, I forget, do Parent Plus loans qualify for RAP, or is there a different payment plan for Parents Plus loans?
Thank you so much for bringing this up. That the RAP plan will not be allowed to be chosen should you have a Parent Plus loan. And so if borrowers do not take action, and again, there's a ton of resources out there, lots of different financial planning experts that have programs and have time on their calendars to help borrowers that have Parent Plus loans take action, the action that's needed in order to be able to select an income-driven repayment plan. But in its entirety, as they currently are, borrowers need to take action, and then new borrowers of Parent Plus loans will not be eligible for income-driven repayment plans.
Yeah.
In addition to that, and I can't stress this part enough, that taking out a new loan, whether you have student loans currently or have a clean slate, that will permanently change your repayment options. That even borrowers with existing federal student loans will lose access to older payment plans if they borrow a new loan, go back to school, they are finishing their course of study after July 1st. So be aware, be engaged, and just make really informed choices when it comes to where and how you borrow.
So you've written an article about this very topic. It's a deep dive into all that we're discussing now. In the article, you talk about the other side of the equation, things like the longer forgiveness timeline. Is that something worth mentioning?
It definitely is, Bob. And so historically, borrowers could choose from a variety of several income-driven repayment plans, allowing them to switch throughout their career, throughout their income, throughout their lives, whether it would be more beneficial to select one or the other. That flexibility is very much shrinking for current borrowers and disappearing in its entirety for new borrowers. That the challenge is that no single repayment plan can be the right fit for every situation. So borrowers will need to get really smart and think with the end in mind when it comes to how they will pay for their student loans and how they will finance their education. Items like longer forgiveness timelines. So the RAP plan requires 30 years of payments for income-driven repayment plan forgiveness, whereas previous plans were 20 or 25 years. Higher payments for borrowers with AGIs of 100,000 or more, just the way that the monthly payments are calculated, and the very steep cutoffs of if you make XYZ, you will pay XYZ, could be a real detriment to high income earners. And then once you select the RAP plan, there's no going back. So it's unlike a tattoo or other types of decisions that I guess you can fix somewhat. It's a permanent plan.
Mm.
It's a permanent change.
Uh, so when you think about comparing how RAP compares to the previous repayment plans, in the article, you have a number of scenarios. Want to walk us through a couple?
Of course. Yes. We started this interview and this conversation with it's more than just your monthly payment, or it's more than just what's happening next month. It's what's happening over the next few years of your life. And to really better understand how the RAP plan compares to previous repayment plans, looking at hypothetical borrower profiles can be really helpful. And so in the article, I write about various scenarios of borrowers that are single filers. And to keep it very simple, very, very straightforward, assuming that a borrower either makes, for example, the first scenario, a borrower with a $20,000 student loan balance and earns $50,000 a year, that when we break out the repayment plan types, the first year monthly payments, the years to repay, and the total cost of the loan, it's actually quite even across the board for this borrower in terms of their total cost of the loan, but actually the RAP plan is slightly lower monthly than the other plans combined. If you shift the dependent variables slightly to the second scenario where same borrower with a $50,000 income but has a $100,000 student loan, you'll see that those numbers shift pretty dramatically in terms of the total cost of the loan, that over time the RAP plan actually costs more because of the years to repay and the amount of payments that are required for full forgiveness. Scenario 3, high income earner, $100,000 loan, $150,000 of income. You also then see a shift in the monthly payments and the total cost of the loan, that the RAP plan actually is a higher payment than their previous
Hmm.
predecessors of income-driven repayment plans, but over time costs slightly less because of the higher payments starting out. So the impact of choosing RAP depends heavily on an individual's personal circumstances. And the most important takeaway is that borrowers should evaluate both the long-term cost in addition to what they're doing next month.
Yeah. So a couple crazy questions. Is there a website where folks can go to sort of compare what they were paying relative to what they will be paying with RAP, or is that not even worth the exercise of doing?
Not a crazy question whatsoever. You know better, do better. That there's a variety of different calculators out there, student loan planner, various foundations. For the intent and purposes article, I actually use the VIN Foundation's calculator. They are a veterinary association, but have for the past decade been a leading source of correct, timely, and prompt information. And so borrowers can create profiles, they can do simple calculations just to get a better sense of what their options are ahead of the July 1st deadline.
And then another crazy question, in scenario 2, where the total cost of loan is that much more than the standard 10-year plan, or, um, I think it was scenario 2, was it? Yes, so
Yes,
it's
yes.
in scenario 2.
No, you got it.
So, I'm thinking, like a mortgage, if I was to pay twice a month, I would bring down a 30-year mortgage down to a 20-year mortgage. Is it worth people considering double paying per month to bring down the total cost of a loan?
But there are, for every new repayment plan, there will be 27 different new ways to approach it. I've gotten that question. I've gotten the question of, ought I refinance to private loans, or if I pay $10 more a month on my principal, and all of that can actually be simulated on the VIN Foundation's calculator. Any crazy scenario that you could ever imagine. And so I will respond with probably a less than satisfactory answer, but it depends. It really depends on the individual's ability to pay, their income, their discretionary budget, other financial planning goals. Maybe that same person wants to purchase a house or um, move across the country and start a feline rescue. Who knows? Whatever your goals are, to have everything planned within a plan is important and not just within a vacuum.
Yeah. Well, I know the article and this video will help a great many people. Is there anything we missed or just bears reemphasizing?
Bob, I so appreciate your time and the willingness and the readiness to help borrowers with this really sound financial planning information. That the RAP plan really does represent one of the most significant changes to the federal student loan system in years. And I know I've been saying that for years, but like this time I really mean it. For many borrowers, particularly those with lower incomes relative to their debt, this might be a welcome breath of fresh air. For those that have different financial situations, this might pose a challenge. And as with most financial planning decisions, the right answer really depends on the individual. So there are resources out there. There are planners, there are specialists in this field, certified student loan professionals, education professionals. When it comes to student loans, focusing on the payment is like picking up a book and judging it by its cover, when really a borrower's journey is written over decades.
I'm going to stop it